Welcome back, everybody, to the Wellness Wonderland Radio. I am so incredibly excited about today's interview with Culinary Karma, Carly. She is a guru of mindfulness and holistic, complete wellness, and I am so honored and thrilled to be chatting with you today, Carly. So thank you so much for being my guest.
And I'm so honored and thrilled to be here.
Yay! Okay, well, like I was saying to you before the call, I just have so much that I want to ask you and chat about, and I know that I just have a feeling that we could chat for hours. So let's jump right in. And I guess let's just start by introducing you. Introduce yourself a little bit to everyone and tell a little bit of your backstory and your journey to Culinary Karma.
Okay, so my website is Culinary Karma, but my name's Carly, and it all started, years ago, probably 4 years ago. I made this whole switch to complete vegan diet, and I thought, I always thought about the karma, and I was like, I'm having good karma because I'm saving the planet and saving the animals and all this stuff. And I think that was like a judgment on myself, I guess. And so I don't know how, but I created, these health problems in my life. And so now it's been really it's been about reevaluating, a diet and finding, what really works for the body and not being so dogmatic about the way that I eat, and realizing that it's not really about, what other people are doing and how other people have healed, and it's really about yourself. So now it's really about trying to find, the most healing things without being dogmatic. And I just love, and that's where my love for, culinary skills began, because I just began in the kitchen, nonstop creating, and then I started taking pictures because I just love, the aesthetics of a beautiful meal, and then I just love sharing, so that's how it all came about.
I love that. And I mirror a lot of that so much, but what stuck out to me kind of there about what you said, lots of things actually. I can totally relate to taking pictures of your food, and I think Instagram has kind of sensationalized this a little bit, but it really is true. When you put the time in and you're eating alone, or you've made a nourishing meal for yourself on your own, it's one thing to be cooking for other people, because then you share that food and they see it and it's shared together and celebrated. But when you're eating on your own, you're still nourishing your body. It's just as exciting, but there's that element of beauty that kind of gets lost because you see it and then you eat it and then it's gone. But I think that's kind of the cool thing about blogs and Instagram and all of it, to really be able to share that even when you're eating on your own, you can still share the beauty of the food. And I think that that's really cool. And that's another thing I love about your blog, is that it is so visual. And that's kind of one thing that I try to promote with my blog too, is that, the internet allows us to have this amazing platform to not only share words so easily, but to share photos. And I think that I just really appreciate that. So I want to just honor you for that. But also getting back into what you said, like I said, what really stuck out to me was that one single diet doesn't work for everyone, and that figuring that out is a process and a journey. And I love that you started out vegan and made that switch and then kind of went from there. And I think everybody kind of has to have that, not necessarily bottom, but that one turning point. That's a better word for it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, with raw food or with whatever it was for me, I've been trying and listening to my body and trying to figure out so many things, but it's so easy to get wrapped around something and then you're just stuck on it. And I can totally relate to that. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that, because it is so easy to associate with these labels, this vegan, paleo, whatever you are today, or even I just read your post from today, which was amazing, where you said, I exercise in the morning every day. And you can even get like wrapped up in that when one day you want to sleep in and your mind is like, well, then I'm not an exerciser in the morning. Done, over, like done, and it's like these labels we attach ourselves too much, and to think that we're healthy. We're healthy if we're doing this certain routine, and oh my God, I didn't oil pull today, I'm the worst person ever, and it really like it makes us like less healthy than more healthy by the and my coach always says this to me, like, if it's going to stress you out, eat it. If it's going to stress you out, like, don't do the workout. You know what I mean? So like whatever it is, like, it will make your body more acidic if it's not right for you. So I guess staying on that a little bit and like getting wrapped up in these labels, like, what is some advice that you have on your journey that you can kind of give other people, and talk a little bit about like how you have expanded from your vegan label and why that was right for you and how you learned that.
Yeah.
That was a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a big question, but I guess I'll just talk about what comes up, because when you said that, I got some ideas and some lost, but I'll just talk about what came up. So for me, I always, would see people's videos and their blogs and all these people who are, complete raw vegan or vegan, and they're just like talking about how they have so much energy and they're so happy and they're so optimistic, and raw food makes you feel so good. And my thing, it was like, well, why don't we feel good in our bodies without depending on food? And it shouldn't matter what we put into our physical vessel. It should be that we have a foundation of vitality without, specific foods. But, meanwhile, I do practice certain things like not having any grains and certain things like that. But I'm talking about, like very, very strict, raw vegan and stuff like that. So, and then the other thing was, from a lot of people you hear, is that you deepen your spiritual connection when you go vegan, and that you don't feel as spiritual if you're not. And I just find that that's not the case at all. I find, given I still, I'm primarily vegetarian, but I find it's a really spiritual process for me to eat an egg or two or a piece of fish, because I can really thank the life force that brought me this meal. It's not just, and I do the same with my plant meals, but it's really I think it's a really spiritual process to enjoy what something else can bring you, the health properties that it can bring you.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So I guess just to kind of get us all on the same page with kind of where you are now, could you talk a little bit specifically about kind of where you started with what your diet was, and then how you have transitioned it to where you are today, and kind of what you've learned? And that obviously won't be something for everyone to follow, because we all kind of have to take our own journey to figure that out, I would suspect, for sure. But could you just kind of walk us through how you learned what you learned and where you are now?
Yeah, of course. So a couple years back, I was on birth control for a long time, and I'm definitely a proponent of no birth control, because that's what kind of started my problems, because it created an internal yeast problem. So I had a candida issue, and
the candida, not the candida.
I know, right? It's the C word. It's that big word everyone has around.
I know. Honestly, you just say it, and I'm just in my mind is screaming no bananas, no fruit, no fat, do this,
I know, right?
Yeah.
So while I was healing from that,
You've
I
got
was
a great
still
post on that you did recently, which I'll definitely post the link below too, by the way, which I loved. So thank
Oh,
you for
cool.
that.
Yeah, I took like a really simple,
It was
10
beautiful.
steps or something like that, my
Hmm.
advice. It wasn't everything that you can do, but it was just like things that are really helpful that everyone can agree on that, goes through this,
And I loved that. I really appreciated that because there is so much conflicting with anything, but especially with Candida, there's so much conflicting information out there that it's like, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this, until it's like, oh my God, I can't eat anything at all. And everything stresses you out. And then that just makes more Candida. So I loved the way that this post was so concise and it really like was just the simple things, again, like you said, that everybody agrees with. So I want to honor you big time for that one because that was super, super great thing to put out into the intraweb.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad because you can there see the thing is with everything, all the people who are like this is the only way to heal, it's just not true. There's so many ways that you can heal. You
Yeah.
can heal from going on a fast, you can heal from a pure juice diet, you can heal from no sugar and all meat, you can heal from meditation, you can heal from Reiki. You can heal from so many, you can heal from Western medicine. It just the thing is it's whatever aligns with you. So if you're the person who believes in, taking pills from the doctor because that's what's going to cure you, then that probably will cure you. But if you're the type of person that in the back of your head you're like, no, I think I need something else, then you go with something else. So there's just so many ways to heal. That's why I posted, the main things that
Yeah.
probably every single person could agree on.
I just love what you said there. That resonates with me so much. Like however you believe you're going to heal is how you're going to heal. And I think really a lot of us we get out of being the CEO of our health. And I know I'm even guilty of this. You think like, your health coach or your nutritionist or bloggers can heal you that you love or, a new recipe or a new book or a new study that just came out. But really when it comes down to it, you're the one that's with your body every day and you're the one that has all of the power. And I think we as a society need to kind of take that power back and stop putting our power to heal ourselves in that doctor or that nutritionist or that blogger and just really listen to our own body, which definitely is easier said than done. But I love what you're saying about that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree because we're both, little health nerds. I do this too. Like I'll go online and I'll be reading all these people's posts about different ways that they healed, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Maybe I should try that. But
Yeah.
like when it comes down to it, it's just that's not me. Like I mean, and everyone's different, so it's really cool that there's so many ways that it's truly miraculous that our body can really heal itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I want to get back to the question, but I
Yeah.
think we're on something good here. I think for me, this is a really big thing because it's really easy for us, and like I'm categorizing us as health nerds, like people who are really into this, people who like, for us, like clearly this is our path. We have a passion for wellness and want to share that. And it's really, we like learning about it. We have that thirst for information. And so we like reading books and blogs and blah, blah, blah. And like not everyone does, but like a lot of people do. And so for us, it's really easy to get lost in, oh my gosh, this works for them. I want that formula. And I'll speak for myself. Like I have a lot of perfectionist tendencies. So sometimes I'll look at someone and be like, oh my gosh, look at how vibrant they are. Look at how glowing they are. I
Right.
want that. I'm just going to follow their formula. And being such a perfectionist, I'll do it to a T. And I've realized like something big in my journey, and I don't even think I've shared this with my blog or my followers and readers yet, but for me, like that can kind of be a hindrance because you can go a little bit too much. And like we were talking before, it gets you too stressed out, too over the top, and just makes you sicker. So, and I think a lot of these bloggers and especially books, like for me, I read this book and the author is great. And it was a great testament to her plan. But again, like, they have to be extreme in the plan that they create because they're doing an overarching theme to help as many people. So they can't really say, like, do this sometimes and it might work. Like, they have to say, like, do this all the time for this amount of time because nobody would see results if they didn't. So I think it's just something to keep in mind that everything that's out there works for somebody, but it may not work for you. And to just kind of, you don't have to follow everything all or nothing. You can kind of take what you will from lots of things. And I think that is something, getting back to what we were talking about before, I think that's definitely something that is really cool about you, that like you started with vegan and kind of take the things that you like from that and then went to the next thing and the next thing, and kind of you can try on lots of different diets. So is that something that you're kind of so I've totally gotten us off topic, but let's get back to that, like you walking us through how you've tried on lots of different hats like we've been talking about.
Yeah, so like I said, like I would see other people's blogs and websites and how they've healed, and I would be like, wow, like that looks like cool, and I would try it. And not only did I try it for myself, I try it because I want to help so many people heal, you know? And it's truly like oneself. It's truly your own journey, but I definitely want to help people with nutrition and like herbs and stuff like that, like things that have really helped me. But so I would just try these things, and then maybe if I did it like strict thing, like totally raw for let's say 2 weeks or something, and then I would feel like, oh, I'm going to be a rebel tonight. Like, I'm going to do something else. And I would do something else, and I would still feel fine. So it was like...
I know, and you're almost, like, shocked when that happens, right?
Right. So I'm just like, why am I going to, listen to all these other people who are telling me, like, all these things? And I'm like, but I don't want... Like, I'm just going to eat the way that my body feels like eating. And, like... just certain things like that I've noticed certain things in my own body that, that not that I totally eliminate fruit or sugars from my diet now, but I don't do that well with lots of sugars. And so, the raw food diet just wasn't really for me, just to eat vegetables and nuts, because I couldn't have that much fruit. So then I started dabbling. The body ecology diet has helped me immensely. I don't know if you've heard about it, but just basically the inclusion of fermented vegetables with almost every meal really, really, really helps with the digestive tract. And I'm definitely a fan of not the diet, not any strict diet, but just that principle really. Like that's probably the main thing that I'll say that I stick to no matter what is fermented vegetables every single day, or fermented coconut water, or a good kefir if you can tolerate the milk or goat milk but yeah, that's just something that has really, really, really helped me with digestion, because my whole problems have been revolved around my stomach area. And so that really helped me. But then I started getting really into like healing with crystals and Reiki. And then when I did that, it was like, whoa, like maybe this doesn't even revolve around food, because I find so much healing in other ways that I'm just like, that I just think about, my diet and what I eat. And I'm like, if I'm doing all of these other things, I don't have to worry about so much about exactly what I'm eating, just because I don't want to stress about it anymore.
I love that. See, I'm really unfamiliar with healing with crystals, totally open to it, but it's just not something that I've like started on, and that's really cool to hear about. Like I'd love to eventually hear more about that, but and like some more specifics, because it's really like a great thing that you said there, like our bodies are constantly balancing out, no matter what we do to them. Like you could eat 10,000 McDonald's hamburgers and then have, 500 ice cream cones and then like, 8 beers and whatever and then run a marathon, but like your body would start to get in the mode of like healing you for that. Like I even think about that, like you cut your finger, it grows back together. Like our bodies are so freaking smart. And so I love what you said there. Like it's not, no matter what you feed it, no matter what you do, like it's meant to balance itself back out. So getting into the crystals, like are there any simple tips that you could give everyone right now just to kind of as a way to get started with that?
Yeah, totally. So if you're I'm sure you are, but I don't know if all of the readers are, but if you're familiar with the chakra system, well, there's different ways to heal with crystals, but for me, the way I found most healing is picking crystals that resonate with the chakras. So, for example, if you're having a root chakra issue, like it could be stuff with your menstrual cycle or cramps or anything like that, or it could be emotional too. It could be not feeling grounded, stuff like that. I would use like dark red crystals and put the crystal on that area and kind of meditate and see like what it feels like. So for me, everything has really revolved around my stomach area. So I find really amazing healing with yellow colored stones. So my favorite is citrine and amber, and I used to, about 3 years ago, I used to, have stomach aches all the time, and I would go to bed and I would have the heating pad on my stomach, and it never really actually worked. It just felt like it was working, but now I would take my crystals, and I put my crystals on my stomach, and I meditate with them, and I can feel things shifting, things aligning, and it's really quite amazing. I know, everyone is different, and I don't know if I'm really in touch with my body, so I can feel that, but it is something I'm really passionate about. I'm actually studying that right now. I'm doing an online course because I've, just found so much healing with that.
Wow, yeah, like that's rad. Like I really had no I knew a little bit about crystals, like having them in the house for energy, and I have a salt lamp, and but you just like I had no idea, and that's really rad to hear about. That's really cool, and I'm excited to hear more as you learn more too, and hopefully you'll probably share that with your blog too. So that's really cool. Getting back to the diet a little bit. I loved what you said about body ecology and about fermented foods. And that's something, for me, I pretty much follow, and I used to follow it a little bit too much, but Kimberly Snyder's Beauty Detox Solution, and kind of the way that she gives uses a lot of those same principles with her probiotic enzyme salad, which is just essentially raw sauerkraut, and incorporating more fermented foods into your diet and getting that good bacteria up, and how important that is. And for me, I've been kind of doing a little bit of testing, and I tested taking it out of my diet and putting it back in, and I just noticed that it really does help, and it really does help with my skin and just keeping me balanced. So I think fermented foods are really imperative for people to incorporate, and I think that they can be kind of scary to people. So do you have any tips for people getting started on adding fermented foods in their diet? Like what are some of your favorite ones to add in, and kind of what do you have on a daily basis fermented foods wise?
Yeah, it's so funny because across the country, across the world, all these different cultures have these ferments in their foods, but I never grew up with it ever. I didn't even know really what it is. When my parents bought like sauerkraut, given it probably wasn't the right fermented one, it was probably, with vinegar or something from the store, but I always thought it was gross. But after reading all of this and really implementing it into my diet, now it's like a meal does not feel complete without my sauerkraut.
I know, that's how I feel.
It just doesn't feel complete, like something's missing. So my tip, the best way that I like it, I mean, I make it myself all the time, because when you make it yourself rather than buy it in the store, you're definitely aware of, what's in it, as you can put a bunch of, probiotics in it. You can either order from Body Ecology or this website called Cultures for Health, or you can just take your trusted probiotic capsules and empty them into your ferments and let it go for a week, or the longer the better. But the way I really, really love it is I'll just put a big bowl of it, probably like half a cup or 3/4 of a cup of sauerkraut, and I'll drizzle some tahini on top and put a little bit of like dulse or sea vegetables on top of that, and some garlic and salt, and it's just so delicious. And then if I'm making like a big leafy green salad, I'll throw some on there too. So
yum. I literally put it on everything. Like, it's just, yeah, it's the best. And it's definitely an acquired taste, and I guess that would be my advice to people, is to try it. And maybe at first it's kind of funky and kind of weird, but it's really cool, and it's rad for your body.
You'll start.
You really will. And it's one of those things that, yeah, you'll definitely start craving it. And I actually heard this really cool. You would love it, actually, Carly. But it's the Quinn, who was just on the Wellness Wonderland Radio. Hopefully you listened. She talked about this Michael Pollan interview, and it was really amazing. And he talks a lot about, a lot of us think like raw food is how we were supposed to eat and blah, blah, blah. And while that's definitely true and raw foods are great, something that I really liked that he spoke about was that cooking has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years in different forms. And it's to the point where, like, it's actually better for our bodies because we've evolved as humans. So we've evolved and need cooking, and need not only cooking but fermenting and these other processes that have been around for so long. Like fermented foods, I just read something recently that they've been around since, like, I don't know what, you know how it is. Like, you read so much and, like, now I have no idea. But for a really freaking long time, And it's actually natural for us to cook some of our food, and which sounds totally counterintuitive, but it's just really cool to think about it in that way, that these ancient practices are really, really beneficial for us. So that's definitely helpful to incorporate into your diet for sure. I would definitely agree with that. Is there anything else that's kind of like a go-to staple in your diet nowadays and where you are? I know you said you've kind of cut out grains. Is that something that you've just found works for you right now?
Yeah, definitely. So what I've been focusing on a lot is kind of the energetics of food. So if you think of grains, or let's say a piece of bread or oatmeal, it's kind of like thick and warm and sticky. And I feel as if it doesn't go through my digestive system as well as I'd like it to. So that's why I, try and eat less. And also because of the sugars too. Like, sugars aren't, I'm sure but like, they're not just in fruit. I find I can eat fruit a lot easier than I can eat something like a bowl of oatmeal, just because it's high in those natural sugars. And so the energetics, it's kind of like gluey into the system. And that's not to say like, oh, I'm never gonna have it again. That's just as a general statement. That's why I don't really include that. So then so if you think, I'm trying to think of something else. So let's say cooked kale, something like that. It's like that, if it's cooked in a little bit of, let's say, coconut oil, and it's this chlorophyll-rich green, and that's going to go down easily because it's just vegetable, It's not sticky. It's kind of, I like a lot of miscellaneous, is that the word? Things like chia and aloe. That's really easy on the digestive tract because it's soft. and it's not sticky. So I don't know. That's something that I've been kind of playing with.
Yeah.
I have this book. It's called The Energetics of Food, and it literally goes through every single thing you could eat. Like if you're gonna eat eggs, or if you're gonna eat chicken, or different vegetables. The energetics of things sautéed versus grilled versus baked, and it's really, really, really interesting.
Wow, I love that. I just wrote down that title. We'll have to post the link of that below too.
Yeah.
Energetics of food. That sounds really interesting. I've never really thought about it that way, and thinking about that, especially with the grains and the oats and how they are sticky, that totally makes sense. I'm kind of on a little bit different path with trying things and then saying, okay, that made me feel really great. And I actually just incorporated having oats in the morning, and I'll do like oat groats with avocado, and I find that like that combination for me just like really works. And I was like terrified of starting that because I was a total like green, just like we were talking about before. I was like, green smoothie, gotta do it, gotta get the lemon water before, gotta oil pull, get my workout in, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, it was winter, and I was like, that of green smoothie right now, like cold freezing fruit, sounds awful. Yeah. Like, why am I doing that to myself? And so I started, as the weather got colder, I started incorporating these oats, and my body was loving it. I had so much more energy. I wasn't hungry 20 minutes after, and like I felt great. And so is that something, that rule of thumb or the energy of foods, like, is that something that you think, again, is something that everyone kind of has to listen to their body for? Or with grains and things like that, is that kind of like a general rule for everyone? They tend to be stickier, but maybe some people's digestive systems can handle more sugar and can handle maybe more grains, and some people, is that something that you'd say people just kind of need to listen for?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I would say I would listen for. I'm here in Florida. It's like 100,000 degrees out, so that's definitely probably why I've been thinking about that, and that's why I'm not including it. But yeah, seasonal eating is definitely a must. Like if it's cold out, you gotta nourish yourself with warm foods. I see all these videos, and they're like, how to stay raw during the winter.
Oh.
And it's like, why are you going to force your body to lengths of something that it doesn't want to do, What I've been looking at, too, a lot is, like, how did older cultures live? What did they eat? Like, they ate a lot of fat, really, because if they were, in the wild, or if whatever they did, it's like they needed to fill up on something sustaining. They couldn't just have a couple carrots.
Yes.
And, they needed to really nourish themselves. So, I mean, I think that's great that you're like, your body's loving the oatmeal, because it's true. Like, we need to sustain ourselves. We can't just eat every hour,
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too. Like, we can't, though. I look at a lot of that too in these videos of these raw foodies who are just kind of blowing up, and that's the thing with it. Like, I think it's kind of like a catch-22 with like health getting so trendy or whatever. And like, I think it's great because I think it's great for the world. I think it's great for everyone, and I think it's great for us. There'll be more things available when you're on the go, blah blah blah. But at the same time, I think people can get really, like, I don't know what the word is, but kind of wrapped around it and kind of into it and like making it their own. And I think that's just kind of silly. And especially like you were saying with the raw foodies in the winter, and it's like, that's just not natural. That can't feel good. And it's all about making yourself feel good and trying to push yourself into this mold just because it works for somebody isn't really the best thing to do, no matter what the situation is. And I think that was like a nice segue into eating locally and eating for the seasons. And I think that is just so huge and so something that I learned over time. And I think really not trying to force anything is kind of the biggest health tip that I could kind of give around that. But so as far as where kind of the health scope of things is going and how everything is more prevalent, and I think it's really great. If you could give one health tip to everyone, what would it be, and like what would you tell people?
That's such a hard one.
I know.
Okay, so I'll say one that I actually just learned recently that's really interesting to me and that helped me a lot is that, okay, so you know the pH balance, so the acid alkaline. So I always thought, okay, if I want to balance my pH, I need to eat all alkaline foods because that's what's going to create alkalinity in the body, which is good. But I just recently learned, and I think it's really interesting, is that when you take the pH, if you have little tester strips and you take your pH just on your mouth, you like do a little saliva test. That's really a test of if you have adequate amount of essential fatty acids in your body. And I personally was really low, and I looked at it and I was like, what? Like, I'm so acid? How is that possible? But it's because I needed to include more nourishing fats in my body because, like, Ayurvedically speaking, I'm Vata, so I tend to, need a little extra fat. So I recently got a trusted supplement of cod liver oil, and that's something that a lot of people who are, in the paleo world recommend, and I kept hearing about it a lot, and I kind of knew that I needed it. And then when I did my pH and I kept testing as acid, I was like, what? So then I started adding this oil into my body, and now I'm like all alkaline. And it's really interesting because I thought, okay, I just need to eat raw fruits and vegetables and I'll be good. And that just wasn't the case.
Wow.
And then the other thing with that is that, okay, so when you test, if you're testing your alkalinity with a urine sample, if you have alkaline urine, that just means that your body was too alkaline, so it's going to release it through your urine. And then if it's acid, that means that, your body is acid and it's releasing that. But it is really not about just sticking to raw vegetables and that's what's going to make you alkaline. It's like a whole list of things. Like, do you have enough fatty acids? It's not just about alkaline forming foods.
I love that. That's super interesting. I'm also the same dosha as you, so that's really, really like great info and something that I totally did not know again. So I'm learning so much from this conversation, as I'm sure everybody else is. But yeah, that's really cool. And I think going on to kind of what we were talking about before with this lifestyle, which is really what this is. It's not really a diet. It's not one thing. It's really making it a lifestyle. And I think what we were saying before with these, maybe raw foodies who are so gung-ho about doing things a certain way all the time, no matter what, I think something to kind of just consider is that it shouldn't always be about the food, because then you're just sitting in your apartment and it's like, oh, what have I got to eat today, and you're on that hunger and fullness diet. You're just like waiting for your next meal and incorporating work and activities in between, and that's not really what life's about. So I think finding that balance is really great, and I can totally see for you that you have that balance of making, yes, food and healthy living is a priority in your life for sure, and obviously a passion for you, but how do you balance this in your relationships, living this lifestyle, and finding balance of giving people information that we're so passionate about, but not making it all about that and being too preachy, and really finding your balance, like making food is obviously part of a celebration in our culture. So how do you keep things chill and simple, when you're going out or when you're with people or just in your everyday life?
Yeah, for a while I struggled with this. I really did. And I just felt kind of like an outcast that I was so into healthy living. It's not just healthy eating, but healthy living, and really, nourishing myself through not only food, but the activities that I do, the places that I go, the music that I listen to. So I don't really want to go to a concert where people are screaming about their boyfriends breaking up with them, like stuff like that, like all these songs that are on the radio. Like I like to surround myself with positive people and positive situations, and everything is an aspect of health. So I definitely struggled with that a lot, especially just being out of college. But what I found is, like, you really, for me at least, I had to, find, like, a tribe of people who think the same as I do. And that doesn't have to be in physical form, because, like, we have each other, we're so interested in all this, and it's really cool to connect with you and be friends with you, because that's really what you need. Like, you need people who are gonna push you to your highest potential. So no matter what it is, if you're into health, if you're into art, if you're into anything that you really love to do and you want to do, you need to hang around people who see it in you, and people who will really encourage you to follow your dream and to do whatever you want to do, and not people who are just like, oh, well, what are you doing now? It's not about that. It's about just living and just,
no, I completely
unfold.
Agree. Yeah, I completely agree and can relate to that so much. And the coolest thing about it is that you may be thinking, like, yes, that's great, but, like, I don't have any of those people in my life. And I thought that for a long time too. And then all of a sudden it's like you just attract them in. They just come in because that's just what the universe gives you. And it's, like, really amazing. And now I just have all this gratitude for that and all these people that I've attracted into my life. But it's something that you have to, like, take with a little bit of patience. And I think for me, it took me a while to kind of attract that posse, and I'm still, like, building it up for sure. But and it will never stop building. That's the cool thing about community and the great thing about the internet for bringing people together. But I think the biggest thing really is just being conscious of everyone around you, because for me, I kind of had this, like, kind of the opposite mindset of you, where I didn't really feel like an outsider, or I did, but I like wanted that. I was like, you know what, I don't want to be around people who think like me and eat like me and live their life like me, because that will challenge me too much. I like kind of being this, like, cool, unique thing that's like, don't touch me, I eat weird, like, I'm weird, I'm a Martian, leave me alone, like, I started associating with that and identifying with that, and then I finally recently have been able to be like, no, like, having a community and having being part of something is really powerful and really great. And so I want to be around people who are not only just like me, I want to be around people who aren't like me too. But when I am around the people who aren't like me, I want to share, but I also want to listen to them. And everybody's at a different path. And I think everybody who you come in contact with is a lesson for you and is an opportunity for you to learn from and has something to give. And I think just really believing, and not only believing, but I so much know in me now that every single person I come in contact with is an opportunity for me to learn. Like, they have something for me to teach and for me to learn. And I think that when you can really step into that, that's when things get really rad. And I think you just generally will start to attract more people who will challenge you and will, like today, like, I just learned so much really cool stuff just from talking to somebody. And I think that it's those conversations that's when I feel most connected to the universe, like I'm living my highest purpose, is when I'm having those really deep, awesome conversations with people. So I think that's just really, really cool.
Yeah, me too. Totally. Exactly what you're saying. I read somewhere in a book once, and it was like, the next time you're on a bus, and I was on a bus kind of, not frequently, but when I was living in Gainesville and going to school, I would take the bus sometimes, and it basically said, like, every single person on that bus is meant to be there. You're like this is a storybook, and you're a character, and like, everyone on that bus was placed there. And it was like, why
that
are you
gives me
gonna
chills.
Yeah, and it was just like, why are you gonna put headphones on and, be to yourself? Why don't you turn to your neighbor and say, like, hey, like, how are you doing today? Something like that, like, spark something and see what comes up, because you never know. Because everywhere you go, those people are there for a reason. If that person is just like, and like turns away, then okay, fine. And then you smile, and it's a lesson that you learned, but you might become friends with the person. It's like, you never know, but it's really true that that everywhere that you are, you're meant to be there. So
yeah, so really enjoy it too. And I think honoring where you are and honoring how you're feeling in the moment is really the most important thing I can kind of stress from this whole conversation, just to kind of bring everything back to center here, is just that, there isn't one diet or one answer or one book. And I think that's where people get tripped up, is they try to follow one diet and they can't because they shouldn't. And then that frustrates them, or they, get wrapped up in not knowing where to start. But it's just about listening to your body. And I know that, like, I would hear that for years, and it's not even, and I would think, oh my God, that's so hard. I can't hear it. Like, please be louder. Like, our bodies are not going to yell at us unless they're sick. And that's this, like,
right.
final call of them telling us, like, I'm going to kill you, so here's, a cut so you can help me. And I think using these conditions like candida or acne or these really, like, unglamorous things, like loving them and being like, oh my gosh, pimple on my chin, thank you so much for being here and telling me you need to be less stressed. You need to, like, take time for yourself and meditate and make a nourishing meal or get a pedicure or go on a walk. Like, that, thank you so freaking much, pimple. Like, when you can find that gratitude, like, and I hate that word so much, I can't believe I just said it on here, but when you can actually be grateful for these conditions that have come into your life, and just like people that have come into your life, and see them as lessons and assignments, like, then you can really learn and grow and teach other people. And I think that's really cool. And it's a misconception that a lot of people look at these conditions or whatever it is as negatives, when really, if you can just, it might be hard, but if you can switch that around and switch it to a positive, like, it's the greatest thing ever. And I think that's a big misconception that people have. But staying on that with misconceptions about nutrition and not even just nutrition, but lifestyle, if you could clear up what you would say is the biggest nutrition or health misconception out there that a lot of people live with today, what would you tell the world?
That's a big one too.
I know. I'm giving you these, like, zingers.
Okay. Big misconception.
Or one of them.
Okay, okay. Well, the first one that came to my mind, this wasn't even a misconception, but this is just something that I feel I need to say, is you can't always just type into Google something and get health information from whatever comes up, because you're going to freak yourself out, Yeah. Like, that's something that I did for a long time, and I would read all these people's stories, and it just totally freaks you out. So that's one thing that, if you can stop yourself, that was actually my New Year's resolution last year, to stop researching stuff like that. And I can say I don't always do it because I'm so interested in all this stuff, but that's one of the things that it's just like, stay in your own body and, just not, delve into that.
Yeah.
But in the nutrition world, I would probably say one, stop counting calories, because I have some friends right now who are, still think that counting calories is the way to lose weight, and I want to tell you guys that
We're
it's
stuck in the
not.
80s.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally outdated. And that, fat doesn't make you fat. Coconut oil, for example, has actually been shown to increase your metabolism, and it actually aids in weight loss, and all of these, like, fats are healthy for you. Cultures from all around the world ate fat. So that's something that I would say definitely don't be afraid of. It's really nourishing for not only your brain, but your gut and your hormones and your neurotransmitters. And don't be afraid of the healthy fats.
I think that's such an amazing point, and I love that. Like, I know for myself that I do so much better, especially in the winter, but even now that the weather's getting warmer where I am, it's so important to have an ample amount of those really good nourishing fats like the coconut oil and the avocados and all of that stuff. I think it's really, really beneficial, and it can be scary for people to incorporate, and keeping that amount at a healthy level is hard. And I know that everybody's different, but for you, I guess, and if you had to make a suggestion to people with as it goes with fats, and I know it depends on other things that people are eating, but like, how do you keep a rule of thumb? Like, I'll just give an example. My mom is like, she knows avocados are great, and I tell her all the time that they're so amazing for you and blah, blah, blah. And I also told her one time that you have to be a little bit careful. She's trying to lose weight, and I told her that you have to be a little bit careful with how much you use and a day or whatever. I like mentioned that one time, and now she's like terrified. She's like, oh, I don't need the avocado. I don't need that. And it's like, no, like, you want to have it, but so many people get so fearful of it. So is there a way that you can kind of combat that in your own life with like not being afraid of putting a certain amount of fat on things?
Yeah, I would say mostly to get a wide variety of different fats. So I wouldn't say, just because fats are so healthy for you to have 2 avocados a day. I'd say, have half of an avocado, maybe have some coconut oil, maybe have some ghee, which is actually clarified butter that's really healing to the digestive system. Maybe have a couple walnuts, kind of vary it out so that you're not only having one type of fat, because as we know, there's omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. So you don't want to get all of the same type. You want to kind of vary your diet. And if you eat eggs or if you eat fish, or, those are good sources of fat as well.
Nice. That's a nice rule of thumb. When it comes to just talking a little bit more here about your blog, when it comes to sharing on your blog and with giving away this information and everybody being so different, how do you kind of choose what you share, knowing that people like the me's of the world will want to take it as a formula? And I think you do such a nice job of this with making it really accessible for everyone. And so it's not such a formula of this is what I eat every day, you should do this too. Instead, you say this is kind of the best of what I've learned, and you spit it back out for people to kind of take what they will from it. So as like a public figure, how do you decide what to share and what to keep private with so many people looking up to you for advice and help?
Yeah, it kind of, okay, so I find myself, I'm so interested in nutrition, and I read all the nutrition books and nutritional healing and all this stuff, but every time that I go to blog specific nutrition advice, whether it's this has more vitamin A, or this has more vitamin C, or, stuff like that, even though I know people could probably benefit from that, I have a hard time posting stuff like that because you just never know because everyone's different. So my posts are mostly about my experience with the food and just like empowering my readers to go with the flow with how they feel. And I just really, I try mostly to empower whoever is on my blog, or everyone, all of the people on your blog who are listening right now, I just want to empower you guys to follow your own body, because I couldn't tell you what's good for you, you know? I would need to do like all these kinesiology tests and muscle testing and blood analysis and all this stuff. So I just try, you know, keep it very mind-body-esque. So I'm really interested in the psychology of food and how we think about our food, rather than spinach has this amount of this vitamin, you know. But it's funny because it's hard to balance it, because I really, really, really love nutrition and learning exactly about, you know, healing with food, but it's just hard to get that information out to the public via my blog because everyone is so different. So when I do it in the future, when I have a practice, I'll definitely, there's no way that I could have just one specific formula for everyone. Like, I don't think that I could have ever a book that says do it this way, you know? I really am looking forward to working with people individually and getting the whole story, whether it's their creativity is blocked, and that's causing them health problems, or they're in a bad relationship, or they're eating inflammatory foods, or, you know, or they could incorporate some different type of herb. So I just really try and keep it simple on my blog, and hopefully later in life when I have my own practice, I could really work individually and come up with the root problem and the root cause.
Perfect. Well, that's a perfect segue to my almost last question, which is just what are you kind of alluded to these goals, but what are you most excited in your life right now, and what are your kind of big overarching goals, and what's next for you in the way of projects and things that you're excited for right now?
Well, there's no way I could give you an exact roadmap because I don't even have it, but I'll tell you the things that I'm really, really interested in, and the things that I'm really excited about doing. So
what's fueling you?
So definitely nutritional medicine, healing through diets, and I haven't picked the exact school that I want to learn from because I want it to be somewhere really special, but somewhere I'm definitely going to do some studies with that. And then I'm really also interested in doing some culinary healing type of work, because my whole philosophy around the food that's on my blog and stuff like that is I like it to be healing. And when I'm cooking for other people and sharing, I don't use sugar and I don't use gluten, and, you know, it's all like that. And I really do love the whole culinary aspect. And a lot of people ask me, so are you gonna have a restaurant? Are you gonna be a chef, a caterer? And it's like, I really don't know. So the first thing that I definitely want to do is the whole nutritional school and learn about herbs and tinctures and apothecary medicine and crystals and Reiki and stuff like that. And then we'll see if possibly in the future I could use all of that I've learned and, you know, help people in the kitchen too.
Nice. So many exciting things coming up for you. Okay, well, this has been amazing. I just want to wrap with a couple rapid fire questions. So just say the first thing that kind of comes to your mind. What do you think?
Okay.
So, scenario, it's the evening and you've just gotten home and it's been a really long day, and what is your go-to quick meal that will nourish you and fill you up?
Okay, so this is if I, you know, didn't prepare anything and there's barely anything in the house. Okay. I always have, you know, greens, so I'll have my greens and my sauerkraut, and I'll put some sea vegetable flakes on there. And if I really don't have, like, usually I would put, you know, some carrots in there, some avocado, stuff like that. But if I really don't have that stuff, I'll put probably 3 tablespoons or so of hemp seeds because they're such a nutritional powerhouse and they taste really yummy. And I'll put that on, and that's really wonderful. If I have I mean, I don't eat eggs every day, but that's something that is really quick and easy if I'm in a rush or something like that. But yeah, a lot of people say that they make a smoothie, and I would say that I love, love, love smoothies, but it's definitely not my go-to food because I haven't really found the perfect smoothie that works in my body because of all like the raw food and the fruit and stuff like that. So I would definitely say greens and sauerkraut and a good protein source, so like hemp seeds.
Nice, nice. Okay, favorite color?
Turquoise.
Nice. Favorite way to relax right now?
Favorite way to relax. I really like to lay in the sun and soak up some vitamin D. That's something that, has also changed my health. If I feel, sad or if I feel kind of weird in my body, a lot of times it's that I'm a little bit low on my vitamin D. So just getting some sun is really important for me.
Nice. And you are lucky that you are in Florida to be able to do that. Okay, how about for my last question, since I know we are both fellow yogis, what is your favorite yoga pose?
Ooh, this is hard.
It's like choosing your children, right?
My favorite yoga pose has to be pigeon.
I knew you were going to say that. That's
How did you know?
I knew it. I don't know why I knew.
It's so good. I don't know why it feels so good on my body, but just, opening the hips is really important. We store a lot of emotions in our hips, so to get that out is great.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, this was absolutely amazing. I have literally like 10,000 more questions I want to ask you, but the time has literally like flown by for me. I hope it did for you and for everyone else who's listening. But I guess just, are there any closing final thoughts that you want to add? And if not, we'll make sure that if anything does come up, we'll definitely post it below and have you'll be around to answer questions from our readers in the comments. Is that cool too?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'd love to. I'd love to connect with everyone who you're inspiring because I'm sure we all have a lot in common. And yeah, I'd love to. Not only do I like to inspire people, but I get inspired by everyone that, like all the people that follow me and, you and, I like to feed off of each other. So I'd be really excited to connect with anyone who's listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this can really just be a platform for a greater conversation with more people. It kind of started with you and me, and I'd really like to kind of take it out and take it out for a spin and just kind of see what else everybody else has to say about it, because I think we really started diving into a lot of good things. I think we could have like 10 more really great conversations. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Maybe we could have a little show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's something to think about for sure. But I guess let's just wrap up the call. So thank you so much, Carly, and everybody for listening. This has been an amazing episode of the Wellness Wonderland Radio, and I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye, guys.